In this video, we will learn different techniques for hacking Metasploitable from Kali Linux. We will start from scanning, then perform enumeration, and in the last, we'll hack our Metasploitable target with 10 different ways. Scanning and penetration testing involves using tools like Nmap to discover active hosts, open ports, and running services, enabling the identification of potential vulnerabilities and forming the basis for further testing and analysis. Normally, SYN-scan is the first scan that we perform on our target. It scans for all TCP ports on the target. However, to ensure that we scanned all TCP ports, we have added a -p- flag. Similarly, we have added flags for version enumeration -sv and for running default scripts -sc. And here we have our scanning results. We can see different services open on the port. We also need to run a UDP scan on the target to list services that utilize UDP protocol instead. So, use the command as shown on the screen. Specify the UDP scan with the -su flag. And we can see that a few UDP services are also running on our target. There are also other multiple scan types available, but we have not intentionally covered these as the SYN-scan and the UDP scan are the most essential types of scans when engaging in a penetration test. Enumeration in penetration testing involves actively querying identified services and systems to gather detailed information, such as user accounts, shares, and configurations. This step aims to provide deeper insights into the target environment's vulnerabilities and potential attack vectors for exploitation. As we have a number of ports open on the target, we can use different enumeration tools on our target. NBT scan can be used to scan the complete subnet and determine machine names with NetBios Enumeration. And here we can see that our target's NetBios name is Metasploitable. We also have a NetBios enumeration script in Nmap. If we run it against our target, we can get complete information about our target, including machine name and workgroup information as shown. Now, let us use some SMB enumeration tools. Nmap has various scripts for SMB enumeration. We can enumerate the exact version of OS with the SMB OS discovery module. We also get the FQDN, the fully qualified domain name of the target. Similarly, we can enumerate shares on a system with an SMB client tool. Here, we can see a few shares on our target. We can further get more information about the shares with the SMB map tool. Here, it tells us that the TMP share on our target is writable, which we can exploit. Enum for Linux is a multi-purpose tool that can enumerate every kind of information from our target with a single command. You can see that in the output, we have information about the users present on the target, the shares, and all kinds of useful information about our target. Similarly, we can enumerate users from the SMTP service running on port 25. Connect with the port with netcat. Now, we can check whether a user is present on the target or not with the verify command. Here, we can see that admin is not available. However, we do have the root and MSF admin users on our target. Metasploit also has a module to enumerate users from SMTP. So, launch Metasploit. Search for SMTP User Enumeration module. Load the module with the use command. Now, set the target IP address. Now, run it and wait for a few seconds. And here we have a list of all users available on the target. Similarly, we can also list the mountable drives with the show mount command. Here, we can see that we can directly mount the root directory. So, in this section, we have seen a few tools to enumerate our target. We can use the information obtained from scanning and enumeration modules to exploit our target. We will see different techniques in this section to hack into our target.
In this video, we are going to exploit port 21 on our Metasploitable machine. We will exploit this manually as well as use scripts to exploit the vulnerability. Let us first scan port 21 with the vulners script. We can see that we have VSFTPD service running on the port and we have a few exploits as well. We can also use the vuln scan to further scan the target. And here we have a more detailed result. We can see that in results that it indicates that the service is backdoored. Let us try to connect to the service and exploit it. Use the command FTP to connect to the IP address. The target will ask for the username. The trick is to add a smiley face emoticon at the end of the username. It opens a backdoor on port 6200, which we can then connect to. Use the blank password for connection. Now, port 6200 will get opened on our target. Open another terminal and connect to the backdoor port and you can see that we are connected and we can run different commands. Now let us exploit the vulnerability with exploit scripts. Use searchsploit to look for the VSFTPD version exploits. We have two scripts. We have a Python script and a Metasploit script. Let us use the Python script first. Mirror it with searchsploit. Make the script executable and now use Python 2 to run the script. Provide the target IP address as the argument. And we can see that we have the terminal and we can run commands on our target. Now, let us use Metasploit to exploit the same vulnerability. Launch Metasploit framework. Search for VSFTPD. We have the exploit module. Select the backdoor exploit module. You can view the options required with the command show options. Set your target with the command setter hosts and the IP address. Now run the exploit. And we have a shell on the target. So, in this manner, we can attack port 21 on the Metasploitable machine.
Port 445 is often open due to its association with Microsoft's Server Message Block Protocol, utilized for file sharing, printer services, and remote administration within Windows networks. It's commonly paired with ports 137 and 139 for comprehensive network access management. Let us run the service enumeration, the vulners, and the vuln Nmap scanned against the target. Here, we can see that the service running on the port is Samba version 3.0 to 4.0. As we did not get the exact version of the SMB service, we can try the Metasploit auxiliary module to check the SMB version. So, launch Metasploit. Look for SMB modules. We have a version detection auxiliary module available. Now load it. Provide the IP address as our host. Now run it. We can see that it has identified the exact service version of SMB service, which is 3.0.20 Debian. We can search for the exploits of this vulnerability with SearchSploit. Here, we can see in the results that there is a Metasploit remote code execution module named Nmap available. Let us look for the module in Metasploit. We can see the module has an excellent rating. Load the module with the use command. We only have to set the target to get the module to work. Set the target IP with set our hosts command. Now run the module. And we have a shell on the target, and we can run all kinds of commands. Now, let us look at the second way to exploit the SMB service. We can use SMB client to list down all shares available on the target. We can see a share named TMP available, and we can also see that we can connect to the target anonymously. Let us try to connect with the TMP share. And we are connected. We can use the help command to list down the actions we can perform. We can even get a shell with logon command. First, open a netcat listener on our machine. Then run the logon command. And we have a shell. And we can run all shell commands. TCP ports 512, 513, and 514 are known as our services and have been misconfigured to allow remote access from any host. Let us scan our target to see if these ports are open. We can see that these ports are open. We do have a tool called our login in our Kali Linux, which we can use to connect to the target. So, use the shown command to connect to the target. And you can see that we do have a shell on our target. Java RMI, Remote Method Invocation, is a Java API that facilitates communication between distributed Java programs. Let us scan the port 1099 with the Nmap vuln script scan. We can see that the Java RMI service running on the port is vulnerable. To exploit the vulnerability, start MSF console. Search for Java RMI. We have a module to exploit Java RMI registry. Load the module with the use command. Set the target with our hosts command. Now, run the exploit. And we have a meterpreter shell.
In this video, we are going to exploit a backdoor that is running on port 1524 on Metasploitable machine. Let us run a quick Nmap scan on our target. We can see that we have a bind shell running on the port. We can now use netcat and try connecting to it. And now we can run different Linux commands for further exploitation.
Port 2049 is associated with the network file system, allowing clients to access files over a network. It's crucial for facilitating file sharing between clients and servers. Let us run a quick Nmap scanned against the target, and we can see that the port is open. To mount NFS share, first, we need to create a temporary directory. Now, we can mount the NFS share in our newly created directory. We can use the mount command as shown to mount the shared drive. Now, we can move into the directory and access all files from our target system. The dist ccd service running on port 3632 is for compiler jobs across a farm of like-configured systems. The problem with this service is that an attacker can easily abuse it to run a command of their choice. The Nmap vuln scan shows that the service is vulnerable. We can now use Metasploit to exploit the service. So, launch Metasploit. Search for dist ccd. We can see that we have an exploit. Load the exploit with the use command. We can see the list of payloads supported with the command show payloads. Let us use the Unix Ruby bind payload. Now set your target IP as our hosts. The last step is to execute the exploit command. And we can see that we have a shell. We have a PostgresSQL service running on port 5432. Let us scan the port in detail with Nmap service enumeration and vulners scan. The version of PostgresSQL service running on the port is too old, and we can see a lot of vulnerabilities and exploits in our Nmap results. We can exploit the service with Metasploit. So, start up MSF console. Search for Postgres. Here, we have an exploit for PostgresSQL service on Linux. Load the exploit with use command. Set the target with set our hosts command. We also need to provide our attacking machine IP address. Set lhost as your Kali machine IP. Now, run the exploit. And we have a Meterpreter shell.
Port 5900 is one of the ports that is open on the target. The port is used by the VNC service by default. Let us run the service enumeration and vuln script against the target. we can see that we have a VNC service running on the port. The port is open. However, we have not found any vulnerabilities. To brute force VNC, let us run Metasploit. Once Metasploit starts, search for VNC auxiliary modules. We are going to use the VNC login auxiliary module. Copy the module name and load it with the use command. We can see the requirements for running this module with the show options command. Here, we need to provide the username and password list. Metasploit sets its default word list for pass list. Let us try to brute force the password for root. So set it as the target user. Now, set the target your target IP. Now, run the module. And here we can see that we have found the password. We can now use the found credential to get a VNC session on the target. Use the command VNC viewer and the target IP. Provide the credentials, and here we have a session. So, we have successfully exploited the VNC service on the target. In our Nmap scan, we had seen that port 6667 was open. Let us run the vuln script against the port. And we can see that the port is running the Trojanized version of Unreal IRCD. If we search the service with searchsploit, we can see that we have an exploit for it available on Metasploit. So, launch Metasploit. Search for Unreal, and we can see a few modules. Select the Unreal backdoor exploit. You can see the options required by the command show options. Now set your target by the command set our hosts and the IP address. Now we need to select the payload. Use the command show payloads to list down supported. I am going to select the Ruby bind shell payload. Now, run the exploit. And we can see that we have the shell. And we can run all kinds of commands.